Hey there guys, welcome back to the channel. For those who are confused regarding the title of the video, do hear me out. Let me explain why I'm doing this and also about the future of the channel. So basically I got into the stock market, the Indian stock market to be precise, from the April of 2020. Then I traded stocks for a month or so, and then for various reasons I had to stop investing and trading in the stock market at that time. So I took a break. Now fast forward exactly 1 year to April 2021, I started investing and trading in stocks again. But this time around I studied a lot about the stock markets and how they work. I have been active now for the past 8 months and I'm on my way to completing a full year in April this year. So though this is a tech channel which was my main objective for me to create the channel, I am looking to diversify my channel. So the main goal for me now is to educate people with more knowledge, not just about tech, but also about stock markets and also about cars in the future. So I want to use this platform to help my subscribers understand and most importantly, get into stock markets. And guys, I will make separate videos in this channel explaining about my journey and the stocks that I have in my portfolio. I will also be talking details about when and why I bought these same stocks. Stay subscribed to the channel to make sure you do not miss any of those videos. But let us for today stick with the EV case study, and of course I will be showing the stocks that I own in my portfolio with respect to EV industry. But before we get started, here is a big disclaimer. My channel and myself are not SEBI registered investment advisors. So do your own diligence and engage in investments and trades depending on your risk levels. Let us get started now. So electric vehicles and its ecosystem is the theme of this case study which I am going for with the year 2022. Though I know this is an industry which is at its infant state with no major developments made on a yearly basis, I do believe that this will be the way to go. I'll be referring to electric vehicles as EVs for easier use in this case study. The EV industry opens up many opportunities for both the industry and the country in the longer run. The conventional cars we have these days run on something called as internal combustion engines. These ICEs run by combusting fuels and this ultimately releases hazardous gases. These emissions from all these ICE cars are causing serious concerns over air pollution and air quality, especially in cities like Delhi and the NCR region. So it was a matter of when India will start to embrace the EV adoption and not why. But clearly there were several hurdles and difficulties in adopting EVs at a massive scale in a country like India where the infrastructure for EVs is very nascent. Traditional ICE cars have benefited from huge number of fuel outlets set up all over the place all over these years. For the same level of infrastructure to be made for EVs, we need huge number of charging stations. Altogether, it is a total ecosystem play when it comes to EVs to succeed in India. This might raise a question on why I am doing a case study on EVs and why I am choosing EVs as my investing theme for 2022. Now that is because the EV ecosystem play has already started in India long back in 2018. And there is one major group responsible for this EV play. It is the Tata group that is at the helm of the ecosystem play in India. Tata Motors launched its first ever electric vehicle called the Nexon EV back in 2018. Also since then Tata Power has built loads of charging stations all over India on highways and homes to provide charging solutions. And then we have Tata Chemicals that build the lithium-ion battery cells for all Tata cars. It has been 3 years since the introduction of Nexon EV, and thanks to that, many people now have a good impression about EVs. Not just cars, there are a lot of electric scooters which are getting more popular these days rather than cars. Companies like Ather Energy, Hero MotoCorp, Bajaj, Greaves Cotton, and Ola have come up with more electric scooters in the recent years, all of which have been received extremely well by the Indian customers. In the Express Mobility 2021 EV conference, an in-depth analysis of the Indian EV ecosystem was discussed related to investments, government policies, measures for EV promotion, localization of EV components, and more. There are lots of EV launches scheduled for the year 2022, 2023 and beyond, with more manufacturers jumping into this bandwagon of EVs. Tata Motors has said that it will launch 10 EVs by the year 2020-25, out of which a couple are expected to be launched this year. And in major cities like Bangalore, Chennai, Mumbai, Delhi and Pune, the charging infrastructure have been getting good. There are many charging stations plotted all over these cities and most importantly in useful locations like nearby a coffee shop or a grocery market. So basically, while you are having a cup of coffee or buying groceries, you can quickly charge up your EV using the charging stations that are placed nearby these coffee shops and grocery markets. Also, most of the manufacturers install home charging stations free of cost, which though is not a fast charger, still is good for charging your EV over the night. And like I said, the government of India targets to have 30% electric vehicles on Indian roads by 2030. This plan has also taken huge steps in the recent years. From 124 EVs sold in 2018 in the medium and heavy passenger segment, there are now 1,356 EVs sold in the same segment as of 6th August 2021. The FAME scheme has also played a huge role in many manufacturers getting into this bandwagon of EVs, as the FAME scheme provides incentives to these EVs sold in India, making them affordable and efficient. So connecting all these dots of vehicle manufacturers, charging stations, battery manufacturers, government schemes and consumer interest make electric vehicles the best choice to go for the next 5 to 10 years, both as your transportation and in the stock market. So now let's talk about my 3 stock picks, and these are the stocks which I also have in my own portfolio. So first we have Tata Motors, and this has got to be the easiest pick which I had to do when I decided to invest in EVs. This was straightforward because, as we all know, Tata Motors was the first mover to the EV industry in India and they have this huge advantage. Yes, I know that Mahindra had this Reva, which was the first EV to be honest, but the Reva was not at all appealing to the customers. And appealing to the customer has to be the ultimate goal for any manufacturer. None of these EVs launched from small players and including Mahindra's Reva were able to attract mainstream buyers. In fact, they made it even worse, painting a bad picture about EVs to the masses. In all fairness, they did a great job in trying to make an EV, but where they all particularly failed and made it even worse is that all these EVs were not so good looking, they looked slow and they were actually slow. And then there was this national concern of kitna deti hai. Let's face it, we all have mileage concerns, and with an EV this transforms to range anxiety. As in EV terms, the range is the maximum distance the EV can do on a full charge. So these early EVs were not at all good to deliver even a respectable EV range. So altogether, it did not look so good for EVs in India until Tata stepped in. Because we had the Tesla revolution happening far west in the United States. And guess what? Tesla totally changed the definition of an EV. Now people were expecting more from EVs thanks to Tesla. They wanted EVs that looked great, they are fast, that are affordable and that are comfortable, and most importantly, which are high in performance and offer good range. So India basically needed a Tesla, but there were no signs from major manufacturers who were just too hesitant to start the transition except for one. Tata Motors, as we all know, is one of the major players and producers of cars in India which took the decision to transition to EVs. They have it all, not just to make a car, but a great car. We have seen that in the past and also in recent years with models like the Tiago, Tigor, Nexon, Harrier, all of which are great cars. And Tata was always known for taking such big challenges like producing the world's cheapest car at that time, the Tata Nano. But apart from all this, Tata has the brains, money, the network, the expertise to do anything in the industry. Tata decided to pull all this to a very good movement, which was, of course, to kickstart the EV revolution in India. As said earlier, Tata Motors were the first movers to the EV industry in India in a massive scale, in the sense that they have made something which was really good looking, fast, affordable, comfortable, and offered good range. The Nexon EV is basically the Nexon SUV, which has been now converted to an EV. So, converting an existing ICE car to an EV is much easier than building an EV from scratch. Tata Motors decided to go this route to help them with the cost and customer appeal, as the Nexon was already a favorite model among the Indian customers. And by no means it was easy. Tata worked really hard to do the transition to EV. Tata Motors has also been doing so good for the past year with its ICE launches like the Harrier, Nexon, Safari, and the Punch. And we have to take into account that Tata Motors also owns the Jaguar Land Rover group. And though the international business is not so good as of now, there is huge scope for both Jaguar and Land Rover. And finally, the reason for me to go with Tata Motors turned out well when we take a look at the sales report for the year 2021. Tata Motors has reported its highest ever calendar year sales in 2021 at some 3 lakhs units. And to be more specific, Tata Motors beats Hyundai to become the second best car maker in India for the month of December 2021. In fact, the December 2021 sales for Tata Motors was its best in the past 10 years. But the most important factor to consider is that the EV sales for Tata Motors was at 2255 units in the month of December 2021 compared to a mere 418 units sold in December 2020. So this was an astonishing year-on-year growth of 439%. Also, Tata Motors is planning to strengthen its EV portfolios with more than 10 models coming within the year 2025. So all in all, it was a very easy option for me to pick Tata Motors, and the major player of this industry in India, Maruti Suzuki, has no idea and has said nothing about their intention to even make an EV. And Hyundai is producing EVs which are very expensive. So Tata Motors is also having this massive monopoly in the EV industry. So let's see how it goes. The next stock which I have in my portfolio is Tata Power. As I said before, Tata has a major advantage in the EV industry, not just because it's a first mover, but also because they have this massive corporate ecosystem. And that's important because with an EV, it does not stop right there to produce a car. You also need to build the complete infrastructure and network for these EVs. And to date, it is only one company, that is also from the Tata Group, which has managed it really well. We are talking about Tata Power, which has already built more than 1,000 charging stations all over India. And there are reports that believe that 2 million EVs will be on Indian roads by 2026 and that they will require 4 lakh chargers. Tata Power knows this and they are committed to build as much as charging stations they could by 2026. Again, like I said earlier, there are no major players in the charging infrastructure either except for Tata Power. Tata Power has given 184% returns the past 1 year and it is set to improve even more. And Tata Power is also partnering with Indian Oil Corporation to install charging stations in their fuel outlets spread all over India. Along with this, the other major players like BPCL, NTC, Power Grid and Reliance are all thinking about getting into the bandwagon, but they are not yet started. And this is one of the major reasons for me to go with Tata Power is because of the ecosystem play they have with Tata Motors and Tata Chemicals. So to get a clear picture of this ecosystem play, think of the EV ecosystem like the Apple ecosystem. Apple products work so well together because of Apple's control over the entire ecosystem. And this is exactly why I believe that Tata Motors, Tata Power and Tata Chemicals will work so well together, returning massive returns in the coming years to its investors. The next stock is actually two stocks, that is Amara Raja Batteries and Tata Chemicals. So these two stocks are basically battery producers. That is because EVs are massively dependent on batteries, and We are talking about lithium ion batteries which gets attached to an EV as a battery pack. These batteries happen to be the most expensive component in making an EV, and it is not surprising either. But since 2010, the price of batteries have gone down from around $1,000 to $100 per kilowatt hour. This was already a massive success for a country like India, as it is now much easier to produce cost-effective, affordable lithium-ion batteries, which ultimately reduces the price of an EV so that customers can afford one very easily. Like I said earlier, I have two stock options in the battery space, both of which are so good, have great potential in the coming years. These stocks are Amara Raja Batteries and Tata Chemicals, and I do own these both stocks. And these are great options in the battery space because take Amara Raja Batteries, which have the upper hand here with the advancements in lithium ion battery technology. Tata Chemical, on the other hand, has proven that they develop great lithium ion batteries which are doing perfectly good in EVs from Tata Motors like the Nexon EV and Tigor EV. And as said earlier, I do own Tata Chemicals, so that combined with Tata Motors, Tata Power and Amara Raja Batteries complete my EV portfolio. I will definitely be adding more of these stocks to my portfolio, averaging them in the coming years. And that's all for this EV case study, guys, and hope you liked it. Do let me know in the comment section if you like this stock series and the EV case studies, and what more case studies or what more type of videos do you want from me in the stock market industry. So that's all for this video. Do give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and meet you guys in my next one.